Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, it's 5 weeks to the important Pennsylvania primary. Fred Anton will analyze then the health care reform bill. What does it mean to you right now? Pennsylvania politics and government, in depth and in detail. And guess what? It all starts right now.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, May 18th is D-Day. What does that mean? The important Pennsylvania U.S. Senate primary, particularly on the Democratic side, and then big gubernatorial primaries in both the Republican and Democratic primaries. Fred Anton is in the House, and he will analyze. All right, Fred, let's start with the important U.S. Senate race. Our inspector, Joe Sestak. Sestak is behind 20 percentage points. He hasn't made up any ground. How does that race shape up to you?
Well, here's how it shapes up, Terry. There are a tremendous number of undecideds. I'd say at least 50%, maybe higher, of the Democratic voters are undecided. Now, the Sestak has really not made any impact. And he only has one chance to make an impact, and that chance is through his AIR campaign, his advertising. He has the campaign group, as your viewers should know, and Neil Oxman is a very experienced, very successful advertising promoter and producer. He has represented Rendell in his election victories, and he's also represented Mayor Nutter in a big turnaround.
Philadelphia mayor, right?
Now, there is a lot to work with. Sestak and Oxman have a lot to work with.
So you think they will go after, Specter's past record of voting for the Reagan and Bush, the things that Arlen Specter did when he was a Republican? You think we're going to hear a good bit about that?
I think they will try to define Arlen Specter as a Republican. Whether they have enough money to do that statewide,
good point.
whether they will get earned media, and whether they will get media all over the state if they have effective ads defining Arlen as a Republican.
Good point. The other thing I think he might do, and weigh in on this point, lately Sestak has been more populist, sort of going after Washington, the Washington establishment, the deal making. He may go after Specter on being there for what? It'll be 30 years, I guess, at the end of this year. 30 years. You think he'll be making this throw the bums out, get rid of Specter? He's been there too long argument.
There's a very anti-incumbent mood. The electorate is very dissatisfied with the economy. The unemployment rate is high. People who's going to come out and vote? That's another question. Now, the energy that I see, depending on whether you like them or not, or where they're coming from, the Tea Party seem to be where the energy is. They're not going to be voting for incumbents. They're going to be voting incumbents out of office. So the anti-incumbency mood favors Sestak. But I would say this, I don't think Sestak has made much of an impact. I think he's made a very, very small impact in defining himself. He hasn't defined himself statewide.
Well, I think you made the critical point. 6 TV markets, 750,000 to $1 million to pick up your gross ratings points, so you raise your... So in other words, a little bit of time. He has maybe $4.5 million to put in TV. The race will get closer. You think it will tighten, but it's still final word, and then we'll go to the governor race. Still an uphill fight for Joe Sestak, correct?
It is an uphill fight, but it's not a 20-point final victory for Arlen Specter. It's going to be a squeaker one way or another, in my judgment.
All right, let's go to the, look, the Democratic primary. There are 4 candidates, as I think many of our viewers know by now. Dan Honorato, the county executive from Allegheny, has started to run commercials. That was your point you made. Very tight race, 2 from the southeast. Give us your quick assessment of that.
Well, of course, most recent development in that race is the appearance of Tony Williams.
Yep.
Tony Williams is not well known outside Philadelphia. He's got some money behind him, and this kicks into the idea that campaign finances are unlimited. You can devote unlimited amounts of money. We don't know how much of that $1.7 million that he says he has comes from one source. It could be $1.5 million.
Right.
Those investment people.
And at $1.7 million, he's an African-American state senator, very popular guy who obviously could draw well in Philadelphia. Is that a big point?
That's a big point. He's very well qualified. He's very articulate. He really is. And he has the endorsement of Mayor Nutter, Connie Williams, and Dwight Evans. I mean, he has three. And Connie Williams, a very
state senator, former state senator from Montgomery County.
He is a major wild card in this to draw a vote.
I want to just quickly turn to the Republican race, but your point, Honorado, because of the money, maybe the slight favorite, but still very unsettled race. 5 weeks out, and that race is still unsettled.
Very, very unsettled. Very, very hard to predict. Yeah. Very fragmented.
Yep. Good point.
Only one real statewide candidate in Jack Wagner, who's run statewide a few times. The other candidates are all regional candidates.
All right. Very quickly, in a minute that we have left, the Attorney General, Tom Corbett, clearly well ahead of Sam Rohr. Rohr seems to have the support of the Tea Party activists on the Republican side. Corbett's got the organization, and he certainly has the weight of the office and the indictments and the bonus gate and the federal lawsuit.
But there are a lot. Corbett, of course, the political pundits all give Corbett the victory. Yeah. But there's a lot bubbling around with these indictments, and now the indictment of Joan Orey, and there are a lot of questions about who is going to be prosecuted, who was prosecuted, why. There's a lot of political turmoil surrounding Tom Corbett.
All right, there you have a quick update from Fred Anton, one of our regulars. All right, the health care reform bill, guess what? What does it mean for you? Not 2 or 3 years from now, but right now, Carolyn Scanlan will be here to weigh in on that following these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by PAConstructionJobs.com. For more information about rewarding careers in the highway construction industry, visit PAConstructionJobs.com. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, as often is the case, Carolyn Scanlan joins us. She's the president and CEO of the Hospital and Healthsystem Association. All right, we've gone into this health care reform bill over and over again, but guess what? We're now going to talk about what does it mean for you, not 2 or 3 years from now, not 5 years from now. Some of it doesn't even kick in until 2014. But what does it mean right now? Carolyn, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into this. Let's go through serially, if you will. What does it mean right now for the viewers out there?
Let me list a couple of items that I think will be really important. It prohibits new health plans from denying children coverage based on pre-existing conditions. So if you have a child with asthma, they can't be denied health care coverage. It eliminates
and that's immediately. Okay.
Or within 90 days.
Within 90 days. So by the end of this summer, certainly you have a kid with asthma or some pre-existing condition, you can't be denied. Point one.
Eliminates co-payments for preventive services and exempts those from having to be paid for by Medicare, those over 65. In other words, you now can get screenings, preventive care, vaccines without any charges for co-payments or deductibles.
Boy, that's huge. Wait a minute, say that again. That is huge.
It will cover all recommended screenings. So if you are 55 and you need to have a screening for colon cancer, a colonoscopy, you don't have to pay a copay, or preventive care or vaccines for your children, or even you as an adult if it's recommended that you get a flu shot or the pneumonia vaccine, and you won't be charged any copays or deductibles.
Very important. All right, that's point 2. Point 3.
For small businesses, businesses under 25 employees, provides a tax credit of up to 35% of the premiums that employer pays on behalf of his or her employees.
All right, so
very big for small
absolutely.
employers.
So say that again, up to
25 employees. If you have health insurance for those employees, you get up to a 35% tax subsidy of that premium cost as the employer.
All right, so all you small business folks out there, make a note of this and call your CPA, right? Isn't
exactly.
That what call your
broker,
accountant or your broker, whoever, but make a note of that. Go ahead.
It bans rescissions, meaning if you have health insurance, in some states, health insurance companies were dropping the coverage, saying that the care that you were seeking was for a pre-existing condition. It bans those rescissions right away, and it bans lifetime limits on the cost of how much care you could get. There are some policies that said if you hit $1 million, you lost your insurance. You no longer, it bans those lifetime limits.
Okay, hold on a minute now. So everybody needs to look at their coverage, make sure that if there's a dollar limit on the back end of it, you exceed that, they drop the coverage. They cannot drop coverage in this bill. Go ahead. Point 5. I think we're up to 5.
If you are uninsured between 55 and 65, you can be in what's called an interim high-risk pool. Generally, if you're between 55 and 65, you probably have some kind of pre-existing condition.
Right.
States, working with the federal government, establish or use already existing high-risk pools for those individuals to now get insurance. Also remarkably important for early retirees or people who have been laid off. This is another way of getting insurance.
How would that work? Would you buy the insurance, or would
I think you buy it as an individual, but you would have an opportunity to buy it through these high-risk pools. And depending upon your income, in 2014, you get some subsidies or some support for buying it.
Okay, so that means that ultimately you'd be able to go to an insurance company and buy the policy from them, removing these restrictions, and the oversight would probably be either by the federal government or by the Pennsylvania Insurance Commission.
And that kind of detail is not yet apparent, and so our Department of Insurance is going to need to put out that information. One last item. It extends coverage for children up to age 26. On a parent's coverage, either in an employer, a group market, or in a individual market.
We had that in Pennsylvania, right? I mean, we had it up to 29 parents.
We do, but this may be a little different. They may actually go on to a family policy here, rather than having to buy an individual policy.
Okay, boy, I hope you were taking notes on that. I was trying to keep this all straight. All right, I want to talk a little bit about healthcare directives. Boy, it's something that we've gotten into in the past. We're going to revisit it. This is important. We'll be back following these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Healthsystem Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, there's all these important decisions that we should be making. We put them off. We don't want to make them. You know what to do. We're ill. We're in an accident. We get old and infirmed, and we can't make these decisions. We have someone here, Maggie Costella. She's the general counsel with the Lancaster General Hospital. She's in the house, and she's going to, Maggie, you're going to clear this all up for us. Now, I set the stage. What should we be doing at this point? Forget that we're okay. We're okay right now. What should we be doing when we're mentally and physically okay?
Well, everybody needs to have an advanced healthcare directive so that we know, a hospital knows, healthcare providers know what you want. It's well established that you can make your own healthcare decisions. But if you don't tell us now what you want to do when you're not able to speak for yourself. So we're lucky in Pennsylvania. We have a wonderful form that's available. Most hospital websites have it. Everybody should go out, get their form, and fill it out. It doesn't have to be notarized.
It's that easy. You just get a form and you fill it out. And what is what's the form basically
There's two pieces to the form, what we call a healthcare power of attorney document, and under that portion, you designate what we call a healthcare agent, somebody to make decisions for you when you're not able to make them. Then there's a second portion, which is called a living will, and you can fill out one part, both parts, neither. If you fill out neither, then we go to a backup plan. But if you fill out both forms, you designate an agent, and then you tell us what you would want. Do you want CPR? Do you want dialysis? Do you want tube feedings?
Yeah, a lot of us we get into this, we've all had, elderly parents, and, most of us have gone through this, and if you don't have it, what do they want? I mean, sometimes they'll tell you, but it's not quite the same, is it? Because you can get in this, Carolyn, you can get into this netherworld, right? Where
exactly, and so if you have something catastrophic happen to you and you arrive at a hospital and you don't have somebody to either speak on your behalf or you haven't indicated what your wishes are for the kind of care you want, then the onus is on the healthcare professionals at the hospital to make those decisions for you, and they may not be the decisions that you want.
Now, once you do this, you may have some recommendations to our viewers out there about what you should do. Make copies. What do you do with these once you get them?
Well, the form is only part of the process, because one of the things you're going to do in the form is designate somebody to make decisions for you. Well, you need to tell that person that you're designating them, and you need to have conversations with that person, because just because you write their name down doesn't mean they know what you want. And the decision maker, this person that you're appointing, is not supposed to make the decision that they want for you. They're supposed to make the decision that you want.
Sometimes that's not an easy conversation to have in families, is it? I mean, in my own case, my mother, she told me what she wanted. By the way, Carolyn, I did not have one of these. I will confess to this. And, she said, this is what I want. And, my sister and I tried to do that. But it's also, you're making these tough decisions at very crucial. I mean, this is excruciating, for the families. This prepares and removes some of that, doesn't it, at the end of a...
It certainly does, and I like to think of this as the greatest gift that you can give to your family.
That's a great point.
Because you are telling them what you want, and they don't have to... The burden's not on them anymore. Because they know what you want.
All right, where does all this go, and how? And there's some plans in the offing for how you can find out more about that. We'll get into that subject after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care.
Hi, welcome back. Well, I hope you've stayed with us. We're talking with Maggie Costella and Carolyn Scanlan. We're into this business of advanced directives and living wills. This is very, very important. Carolyn, you were making a point about this conversation. I know it's not easy. Nobody wants to do this, but
it's important to have this conversation in your family with your spouse or your children or your elderly parents. And there is a document that could help people. It's called Decide for Yourself. A guide to advance healthcare directives. Sorry.
There you go.
There we go.
It.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
And people can find this on the website nationalhealthcaredecisionsday.org. That is a day that is nationally designated. It's the third year in a row. It's April 16th this year, and lots of hospitals around the state will be holding events to help people know how to have these conversations and even fill out the forms that Maggie talked about.
Yeah. Now, Lancaster General, you're doing one of these events yourself?
That's correct.
Do I have that right?
Yep. On April 15th, which is a Thursday, it's actually the day before, but in conjunction with National Healthcare Decisions Day. It's from 7 to 8:30 at the Healthy Weight Management Center at 2150 Harrisburg Pike, Suite 300.
So let me get this straight now. Go back to this. Most hospitals and medical websites will have copies of these. You get them, you fill them out. You don't need to keep going.
They don't need to be notarized.
No, so none of this legal mumbo jumbo. Sorry, lawyer. No legal mumbo jumbo. You just fill it out. Go ahead.
They have to be witnessed.
Okay.
But they do not have to be notarized, which is really nice in Pennsylvania. And again, the form is right on the Lancaster General Health.org website. You go to Patients and Visitors, and it'll say Advanced Directives.
There you go.
The form's there in English and in Spanish.
Now, Carolyn, look, if they go into one of the hospitals or any hospital in the state, if somebody gets admitted, they take the form in, and what will happen then?
Well, it'll get put in the medical record. All of the healthcare workers will be apprised of what your wants and needs are. If you have a power of attorney or a healthcare proxy person speaking on your behalf, that person is your advocate in regard to your wants and your needs. Another website that people can go to get more information is careforpa.org. It's a website that we've put up to help consumers of health care understand issues, and this is clearly articulated, and the hospitals that are participating in the National Healthcare Decisions Day are listed on that website.
Now, you may not have an answer to this, and if you don't, that's okay. Is this common or uncommon that I mean, my sense is that there's a lot of these critical decisions that are being made without these directives, and that this is more common than we would think, that people get into these where they're trying to make these decisions under horrible circumstances. Is this fairly common?
Actually, most decisions, of course, are made by patients themselves. It's only when they're not able to speak that it becomes an issue.
But that's more and more.
It is. It's much more common, especially as the population ages. We're seeing more and more of this. I mean, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis: is deal with families that are not able to make decisions. Patients. So.
Well, look, I want to. This has been great. Great update. I mean, I hope you all were listening out there, and we're trying to provide you with important information that is, I think, critical as we get into these decisions at sort of the end of life decisions. All right, as always, I want to thank you for watching this edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and you all like this. Stay well.